Sarah, you feeling? I don't want to call you out. But
Yeah.
you feeling okay?
No, I was like, I had like a bad sinus headache, which I sometimes get from allergies, and then it went away.
Oh, I'm glad it went away. So
yeah,
but happy ending.
Yeah, it was fun. I don't think I would have been very successful at like actually learning anything though.
Very fair. It's okay. My week has been, I've got Yara sitting here watching, I think she's watching PJ Masks now, which is not my preference, but whatever, I had to give in. So yeah.
I mean,
what was that?
Like she's stuck home for how many days?
10. Her and Gedalia is sleeping now. And but did I start recording? Yeah, I did. Okay. I had her, she watched through all the episodes of Ada Twist Scientist, which there aren't so many yet on Netflix, but which I really love. So now we've reduced ourselves to PJ Mask. So anyway, that's if anyone has a good kids Torah podcast, I'd be happy, or a good Torah show on somewhere, I'd love to have her watch it. So with that, Asher maybe made it back. That's great.
Not Torah, but are y'all listening to the Imagine Neighborhood? I mean, not explicitly Torah.
What is Imagine Neighborhood?
The Imagine Neighborhood is a podcast for kids and their grown-ups, and it's great. And Michal Richardson works on it, if you know her.
I do. Yeah, I'm not very well, but I know who she is. So yeah, that's amazing. I'll have to look for that. That's but with that, we're here to discuss halacha. So I decided today, one of the things I noticed from Shir was that, this, I think for all of us, we're a little weak on kinyan as a concept. And so I thought we'd do a little kinyan from the Rambam. He's a good way to build concepts quickly. I've looked at most of this, but I'm not an expert in this by any means. So we're going to kind of work through this together a little bit. Obviously I've done selections here. And one thing, I just want to sit with a working definition. I think we think so much of kinyan as something where we now own something that we didn't own before, but I want to actually redefine it as something as a method of status change. The kinyan changes a status is like a broader category. A subcategory of that is where you gain ownership over something that you didn't own before. But you can tell me if maybe at the end of this or at some other time if that works or not. But
within the Torah context, it's like acquisition doesn't necessarily mean buying, but obviously the earliest use kaniti ish et Elokim.
Exactly. Yes.
What Chava says. So there's something about gaining possession that I think we automatically think of it as buying or purchasing.
I love that, and part of it is when Chava says to naming kain kaniti ish. I was actually thinking today. You can tell me how good my Amidah was this morning when I was V'koneh hakol. I was thinking it's not that God bought everything or owns everything, but that God created the status of everything in some ways, or obviously it was I should have been talking to God, not focusing on my shir while I was davening, but whatever.
Kaniti ish obviously is also problematic because we don't know which ish he's talking about.
Also, good point. Yeah, is it Adam or is it Cain? It's a great point.
Right.
So all right, with that, so let's dive in. Oh, Asher, I'll put the source sheet back in the chat. All Rambam today. And so I'll start us out.
I'm opening in Safari. Just tell me which Rambam we're.
Good. We're going to start with Perek Aleph, and then we're going to in Hilchot Mechira.
Okay.
And then we're going to jump to Perek Hay.
Okay.
Okay.
But everything we're doing today is in Hilchot Mechira.
Yes. So.
Okay.
All right. Here we go. I'll kick us off. Hamekach eino nikneh b'dvarim. All right, that when you purchase something that is purchased, an acquisition, I like that word, is not purchased with words, right? Even if you have Adim who said like, hey, they made a verbal agreement over this thing. Ketzad, all right. Bait ze ani mocher lecha, yain ze ani mocher lecha, eved ze ani mocher lecha, ufasku adamim. Right? V'ratza lokeach ve'amar kaniti, v'ratza mocher ve'amar macharti, ve'amru le'edim, havu alinu edim, right? Shemachar zeh ve'shelakach zeh, harei zeh eino klum, ve'chi'ilu lo hayu b'neihem dvarim me'olam, ve'chein benoten matana umekabla, right? Rambam says, look, if you have two people, one says, I want to sell this, I'm selling this house to you, I'm selling this field to you, this wine to you, whatever it may be, this slave, all right? and the other guy, then we say we agree it's going to be this much money, right? And one person says I bought it, one person says I sold it, and they say to two people, you are the adim that we bought and we sold it, right? That is worthless as far as the Rambam is concerned, as far as the halacha is concerned, right? That doesn't count for anything. Verbal agreements have no status, essentially, in this case. Good. We feeling good about that? We feeling not good about that? That's okay. All right, we'll go through the rotation here. Sarah, take halacha bet.
אבל אם נקנה המלך באחד מהדברים הוא נקנה בהם, קונה הלוקח ואינן צריכים לעדים כלל, ואין אחד מהן יכול לחזור בו.
Good.
Okay, so should I translate
or give us the general sense of it?
Yeah.
Either one.
Okay, so like, I mean, it's actually notable that in the first halacha, he states it negatively, right? Like, here are the things that don't work. But
yep.
if you do a kinyan in the way that is effective, then the like purchaser gains ownership. I'm going to use that language because I don't really know what else to say. And you don't need witnesses at all. And even if you had them, they could, like, nobody can go back on it. Once it's done, it's done.
Great. And I don't know, I need to look in because I said I don't know Hilchot Kinyan well enough, but I wonder if there's something here to the sense of what is one of the reasons for a Kinyan you need a particular like method, particular methods beyond just verbal, is because we don't expect adim for every Kinyan out there, right? You know, it's like I go to the store, you imagine how crazy this would be if like I went to the store and I needed adim for every time I bought something from somebody. It would be but generally in halacha we do need adim. So like this is like in some ways the methodology of kinyan replaces the need for adim to some extent, like and so therefore we need specific things. I don't know for sure, and of course that puts isha sheniknet in the whole weird category because you do need adim for that. And so like why do you need adim for that but not for the regular normal mekach is an interesting question. Good. Okay, Yavni, take halacha gimel.
ובמה יקנה המקח? הקרקעות באחד משלושה דברים, בכסף או בשטר או בחזקה. And what are those ways of doing a kinyan on a thing? Property, like things that aren't movable,
exactly,
is by one of the following three methods, either with money or with a written contract or with an establishment of like pattern of occupation.
Great. Yeah, usually chazakah, by the way, if I'm not mistaken here, is I mean there is like if you live there for 3 years and so forth, but it's I think when you get to the details, one of the main ways is like you like press down the boundaries, you know, you walk the boundaries of the field and you do some fix to it, you know, you do something to it that that makes it yours, essentially, some improvement.
It could be a real problem if somebody moves into an unoccupied apartment and just says, now this is mine.
It doesn't sound like a problem to me.
I've added I don't know, curtains.
Good. No, this is actually a huge field, no pun intended, in Bava Batra, you know, about the question of chazakah and like what happens when you have two people who make a claim on a land and one of them has been living there for a while. You know, like how long did you know, can we say, well, I know that guy went back for several years, you know, who actually has ownership of it. Good. But
isn't there a general principle that if you put substantial labor into something, you gain ownership?
Yes. And in fact, actually, this is like also comes into like cases of Geneva and Gazela, right? If I improve the thing, I've actually owned it. Oh, yeah. Thank you, Yara. I don't know if you guys can hear that. And what did you just say, Yara?
Well, they always do these ones.
They always do these ones? Okay, but it's all good? Okay, good.
That was a translation of chazakah. They always do these ones.
They always do these ones. They're perfect. It was amazing. It was it's like, you know, they said the yellow sokli psukech, right? Sukach, right? You know, like give me what pasuk are you learning right now as a premonition. Yeah. And you know, generally if I steal somebody from somebody and I like do something with it, I don't have to give you back that item anymore. If I like improve it, right? Because it's mine now. I've actually owned it. I do owe you the money, by the way, for stealing it, but I don't owe you the object anymore. In that case, I've bought the object. So good. Okay, halacha dalid. Asher, you want to take it for us?
Okay, כיצד בכסף? מכר לו בית, מכר לו שדה, ונתן לו האדמים קנה. So how do you buy something with money? If somebody sells someone else a house or a field, and he gives them the price, actually gives them the money, then that's considered buying. Okay, that's Webster, Rambam and Webster. But medvarim amorim, excuse me, I'm getting all choked up by this. But medvarim amorim, makom she'en kotvim et hashtar. When are we talking about this? In a place where a writ of deed is not the norm. אבל במקום שדרכן לכתוב שטר מכר לא קנה עד שיכתוב את השטר. In a place where the way of doing things is to write a writ of sale, then the sale isn't complete until the shtar has been written up. ואין קרקע נקנית בפחות משווה פרוטה. And the karka is not considered purchased if it was for less than the equivalent of a pruta.
Great. So this, the shtar, there are places where you can't do this. Even money doesn't suffice because they have a tradition in those places that it needs a shtar. It's kind of a receipt of sale, not exactly, but I can imagine there's still places where they don't give you the receipt, they give you the thing for free kind of thing. It's
right.
But there needs to be a proof of sale that's a contractual proof. And here we get the whole shave pruta thing, right? Which we learned, of course, from Sadeh, right? Is because property, non-movable property is not bought for less than a pruta. All right. So that's just the I don't know the exact reasons behind it. That's just the general principle we have of, it could be simply that you just kind of didn't get less than that in terms of monetary value of actually being able to mean anything. Or actually the other thing this is complete, I'm just complete conjecture here. You can imagine when you have weights that, your money is a weight of silver, right? You may actually have at some point you limit yourself in accuracy, right? If you get to less than a pruta, maybe you can't weigh anything accurately less than that. It's a complete conjecture, so maybe I'm wrong, and I'm making this up as I go along. So people can tell me if that's wrong, but it's a guess. So, okay, all those rules, and of course, right, one of the other famous methods, which is not applied to karka, I didn't go this far in the Rambam, is meshicha, right? For movable property, you have to actually really. It's actually hagba'ah that you've lifted up, but if you can't lift it up, you pull it to you, and right. But it's a physical act where you actually take the thing, is a way of acquiring as well. So, okay, we're going to jump to Parak Hay there, and we'll see how much of this we can do. But this will help us out because this is going to give us a whole nother method of kinyan. Okay, am I up? Is that? I think it's me. Okay, halacha aleph. Right? Movable property can acquire one another. Kate said, how does that work? Hechlif para bechamor or yain b'shemen, alfal pi shemakbidim al adamim v'shiaru kama shaveh zeh v'chama shaveh zeh ve'achar kach hechlifu kevan shemashach echad o hagbiyo kana hasheni hamataltalim ha'acharim b'chol makom shem v'naseh b'rshuto v'alfal pi shadayin lo mashchan. Okay, so that you can use an object to kind of buy the other one, even right that you were careful about what are the actual value exchange here. Maybe there's even extra money that needs to be exchanged. It's my donkey isn't necessarily worth your cow or so forth, right? Once one of them grabs the cow, right, or lifts it up, if you could lift it, if it's like yain, right, the other one has now purchased the other thing. All right, this comes from people may have seen this. So yeah, what happens if one of them dies? One of the animals dies on the kind of when half the exchanges happen off the other half. Yeah, it's bought. All right, and that is even though I haven't, as a second party, I haven't taken the cow. Once the guy takes the donkey or the person takes the donkey, that's it. The exchange is done, and it's a complete sale. Okay, this is in some ways the barter system. Right, this is moving us outside of money, and when you exchange one thing for another, it's that counts as a good kinyan. And the thing itself, I think the important thing is, and this is like the Rambam, even though they're makpidim al hadamim, it's not actually money, right? This is actually a complete exchange, and it's not like the monetary value of the thing is buying it, as a stand-in for money. It's the thing itself, the actual object is buying it. Does that distinction make sense? I don't know if I'm doing it well. Okay, so good. Any questions up till there? If not, Sarah, you can take that.
Should I go ahead?
Yeah, go for it, please.
ההחליך חמור בפרה ותלה משך הפרה ועדיין לא משך את הטלה, לא קנה, שאין כאן משיכה גמורה וכן כל כיוצא בזה. So if you're going to perform a swap wherein you're going to exchange your donkey for a horse and a sheep, and you did mashicha with the, or not a horse, a cow, on mashicha on the cow, but you didn't do it for the sheep, then there hasn't been sufficient mashicha and any similar case. So you really have to like do something for each individual object.
Great, right. So it's one of the two parties has to have done a complete, mashicha or some sort of symbolic act. I don't know if it's symbolic, but an act of actually grabbing the thing or taking the thing. Otherwise, it doesn't count. Okay.
So I'm curious though, what would happen? Let's say we're doing a 2-for swap. Okay, I'm going to trade you my donkey and my sheep for your cow and your goat.
Mm-hmm.
And I've grabbed the goat. Now, is it a whole deal, a 2-for-2, or is it basically saying the cow and the sheep are equivalent and the goat and the lamb are equivalent? So if I've grabbed the goat, then that and the lamb are already done. Or are we saying this is a whole package deal?
I'm not expert enough to say, but I think you have to take all the one side has to take all the objects, I think, is the answer.
Okay, so it's a package deal.
Yeah,
I think it depends how you set it up. If you set it up as 2 separate exchanges, then it's
that's a good point. That's different. Yeah, if it's this works for baseball players too. Just to throw it in there.
That's where I was thinking along those lines of baseball players.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to go grab the guy and okay, now you're ours.
I'm going to get myself completely off track, but there is the whole thing with baseball players being treated to some extent of like, is this slavery, right? It's like they don't get to choose this, and this was the original arguments that were made. Kurt Flood, I believe, was the baseball player in the 60s and 70s, right? Who made this argument that he should be able to be a free agent, right? This is where free agency comes from. They made all the way to Supreme Court, where he claimed that under the 13th Amendment, no, it was 14th, that baseball couldn't do this, right? This was a violation of his right as a free person.
He won the case, but lost his career over it.
He did, yes. It's nowadays people see Kurt Flood as a hero, but at the time, he was considered a pariah in baseball for pulling this off.
Yeah.
So, and then there was
watching about that.
Yeah,
I saw a whole thing about that in the Ken Burns documentary.
Exactly. Yeah, I'll plug it. Ken Burns baseball, amazing. Makes me cry every time.
Fantastic. Yeah. I think even non-baseball fans can appreciate baseball from that.
Exactly.
So,
I agree.
Anyway.
All right, with that, halacha gimel, Yavni, go for it.
דמים שאין מקפידין עליהם, הרי הם כשאר מטלטלין וקונין. כיצד? הרי שחפן מאות בלא משקל ובלא מניין, אלא נטלן אכסרה, ואמר לו, מכור לי פרתך, או יין זה באלו, ונתן לו את הדמים קנה. ואין אחד מהם יכול לחזור בו, שזה דבר שאינו מצוי, שאינו מצוי הוא, ולא הצריכו בו משיכה. So if you're treating money as an object, then it counts like the Khalifin case and not like buying it with money. In that
Beautiful. This, by the way, can come into like where the whole thing in Kiddushin could happen. Like, how could that be a Chalipin? How could you have a Hamin it's a Chalipin, right? If you're treating the ring like an object and not like money, that actually could be the case. That's what I thought this was interesting. And you could have, this is also, it's hard to say in their world and really in our world until, I don't know, the gold standard ended, or maybe even before that, like money actually it wasn't object of value. It wasn't just money, and so I think that they're acknowledging that kind of duality of money. That money has, it's not just a monetary thing. It also has its inherent value to it. And you could just I want these coins at the end of the day, it's so Tov. Good. Any questions, thoughts on that? That's
I'm not exactly sure what the diuk is, because if you did say you were treating it as money, then why would it be any different?
Oh, because the you'd have to do meshicha on the other side of things in order for you'd have to until the person took the cow, it wouldn't count as
you
a
need
kinyan.
when you're buying with kesef, you also need meshicha on.
For
there's
places
no for metaltalin. There's no kinyan, just the kesef for metaltalin.
I believe that's right. Hopefully, I'm not speaking incorrectly, but I believe that's correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
What about then with the star? Is with the star, do you also need the?
Yeah, see, this is the problem. I don't have yadin. That's gonna be my excuse for everything here. So I have no clue what I'm talking about actually. Yeah. So I'm not gonna answer that because I don't know the answer. So yes, Yara.
Why is this so tangled?
Because the balloon got folded. So, okay, good. Oh, this is a very long one. How are we doing on time? Great. Why not? Let's keep going. Asher, you want to take this long Rambam here? Oh, Yavni, was that a hand or was that you just scratching? Okay.
Okay. Oh, now we're even getting into an example with people. So Reuven sold this tract of land to Shimon.
For remember metaltalin
or something that's unmovable. Something is movable. Sorry.
Yeah, immovable. Yeah.
He sold something that can be moved, can be grabbed to Shimon for 50 zuz. The kana Shimon metaltalin v'nitchayev b'damim.
Oh, hold on a second.
Shimon. Okay.
You can keep going. I just need to press play on Yara's computer. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So Shimon bought this object, and he now owes money. He's obligated to pay money. Shimon ב-50 זוז אלו, היה לו יין או בהמה או עבד וכיוצא בהם, משאר המטלטלים, והיה רוצה למוכרן. So after Shimon has committed to paying this 50 zuz, he has something that he wants to sell, whether it's wine or an animal or a slave or something along those lines. That's interesting grouping of things that say anything like those.
Yeah.
And he wants to sell them. אמר לו ראובן, מכור אותו לי ב-50 זוז שיש לי בידך דמי המכר, ואמר לו הן. So Reuben says, you know what? I'll take one of these things for the 50 zuz that you owe me. And Shimon agrees. קנה ראובן המטלטלים בכל מקום שהן, ואף על פי שלא משך ולא הגביע. In that case, it's considered a complete kinyan, even if he hasn't grabbed it or lifted it or whatever. I would imagine because Shimon has on his end. And we said if one of them has done it and they've come to an agreement, that makes it a kosher sale on both sides. So Reuben now doesn't have to do that Hag Ba'ar Meshicha because Shimon's already done it. Am I reading that right?
Yeah.
Or I should say interpreting. I should say, am I interpreting that correctly?
Essentially, I mean, it's also Devar She'eno Matsui, which is going to be like one of the cases here. Right? This is like an unusual case, but yes, it's essentially because he's already taken one half of it. Even though you owe them money, the kinyan's done, and now you've just kind of swapped out the money for something else at this point.
Right.
So.
Okay, which also ties back into what we were saying about the pruta and the ring and all that.
Yeah.
Okay. שגם זה דבר שאינו מצוי הוא ולא יצריכו בו משיכה. And this is also true if it's something that's not right there. It's not that he doesn't have in his hand to give to him at the moment, and it's not something that would have to be grabbed or held up. אבל אם היה חוב לו עליו שלא מחמת המכר, ואמר לו מכור לי מטלטלים בחוב שיש לי אצלך, ורצו שניהם, לא קנה עד שיגביע. Okay, wait. I think I got a little lost there. If if he owes him the money, what's this shalom machamat hamecher?
Is just unconnected, unrelated to the sale, right? It's
okay.
Yeah.
He just owes him money bichlal.
Mm-hmm.
He can't, so then he can't just say, okay, take the money that I owe you, we'll make that the sale.
Exactly. All right. Well, you need mashicha. You can do it. You just need mashicha to do it. That's
okay.
Different. So, okay.
Okay.
I don't want to get too. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't want to dive too into
confused
that.
of who was saying which here between Reuben and Shimon.
Yeah. So, all right, let's go to halacha hey though from there. If I remember correctly, I should have written down which ones I really. Yeah, I think this is the one. Sarah, take halacha hey.
הקרקעות והעבדים והבהמה ושאר כל המטלטלים, כל אחד מהן נקנה בחליפין, והוא הנקרא kinyan. ועיקר הדרך הזאת, שייתן הקונה למקנה.
Oh, the bet shouldn't be there. Sorry. I'm gonna take that out.
It's like a bar-ilan.
It's a bar-ilan hyperlink, yeah.
But yeah, okay. כלי כלשהו. ויאמר לו, קונה כלי זה החלף החצר, או היין, או הבהמה, או העבד שמכרתי בכך וכך. כיוון שהגביע המוכר את הכלי וקנהו, קנה לוקח אותו הקרקע או אותן המטלטלים. אף על פי שעדיין לא משכן ולא נתן הדמים. ואחד מהן אין יכול לחזור בו. Okay,
great.
So this is a description of Khalifin. So if you want to buy a karka or an eved or a bema or movable property, you can buy through this procedure called Khalifin. It's interesting that he has Vehu Hanikra Kinyan.
Yeah, I know.
What are you doing with that?
I'm not sure. I'm sure there's a Gemara reason that he's basing this off of, but I don't know. In some ways, I do wonder if is this like the most basic form of kinyan at the end of the day? Believe it, like this is the original, like if you go back in history, like what is the earliest kinyan? Like it wasn't money. It was
bizarre because it seems for kind of like it's way more derivative. I don't know, like
yeah.
If I think about what it means to like take control of something, like either like I don't know. I mean, maybe I've just like read too much John Locke, but like the like Western theories of property that you see in like British philosophy or whatever are all like basically kinyan chatzer. Or the like labor version.
Yeah. It's
I don't know. Whatever. So, they're just like the stuff is here because it's in my house. Like Okay. Anyway, whatever. So the like core feature of this is that I give you the thing, and I say this. With this thing, I am buying whatever. Like in exchange. And then when the seller like takes it, then the purchase is effected, and that's the point of no return.
Exactly, right. This is essentially, it's a sub form of this whole thing we've talked about of exchanging objects for one another. It's like if I want to buy another object, it could have nothing to do with the object itself, nothing to do with the sale. We can designate a movable object that I then use by taking it to affect the transaction. This is a kinyan sudar at the end of the day, right? That we're talking about here, and it is like just as Rav Nachum said it in the shir, like even though we don't think about this a lot, when you do a kinyan sudar, I don't know, on a ketuah, which is the whole thing, like whether or not you even need to do that, but let's pretend that you need to do that for the moment. The Rambam gets into this at the end a little bit. When I take that pen, I own that pen now that I took, and that by my now owning that pen, I have the other person, or I have purchased, somebody has purchased this thing, this other thing. So all right, and remember it's the seller has to pick up, in this case, the kli, right, and purchase it, that is used as to affect the kinyan. So
okay. And the idea is that technically this is just an exchange. It just happens to be like we've made it sort of symbolic because
exactly, yeah, beautifully said. Okay, good. Halacha vav. Yavni, take it.
אין קונין אלא בכלים, ואף על פי שאין בו שווה פרוטה, ואין קונין בדבר שאסור בהנאה, ולא בפירות ולא במטבע, ואין קונין בכליו של מוכר, אלא בכליו של לוקח. So you can't do this khalifin. You can only do it with a kli, meaning like something that's artificial as opposed to like a natural object. Is that the
I think
distinction?
so. I think so, but I'm not sure. That's usually what we say bikli. So because he doesn't say metaltalin, he says bikli. So I think you can't be like a piece of, I don't know, driftwood,
Rock.
you know, or rock. Yeah. Rock is much easier than driftwood. I don't know why I thought about driftwood, but yeah, it's you know, great.
Mhm. But it doesn't need to be sheveh putar. It can be very small value, and we don't we don't do this kinyan with something that is asul bahana, but yeah, and not with produce like perishables, I guess.
Yeah.
And not with coins.
Yeah.
And it has to be belonging to the person who is doing the buying as opposed to the person who's doing the selling, because otherwise it doesn't make sense.
Exactly. Yeah, because we still need an exchange to happen at the end of the day, right? That's the
right.
Yeah. Sarah, is that a hand? Or okay, great.
I was like just resting my elbow on the.
No problem. It's good. All right, halacha zayin. Asher, you want to take this? I'm giving you all the long ones here. So actually, wait, hold on. So I want to make sure I want to do this. Yeah, I do want to do this one. Go for it. I can't hear you. Can other people hear Asher?
Sorry, my wife and daughter got home, so I muted, so and I forgot. הקנה אחד כלי למוכר כדי שיקנה הלוקח אותו הממכר זכר ללוקח. So somebody does a kinyan. I guess it's like a third person. Does a kinyan by giving something to the seller, so that the buyer will then, basically it's using a third person for a sale.
Yeah, it could actually even be using
right?
the lokeach for the sale potentially, but yes. So
okay. ואף על פי שיקנה לו הכלי על מנת להחזירו, יקנה מכך וזכה בו הלוקח. So even though the person has transferred the article, he's brought this thing over to the person to the person who's selling, and it was on the condition that he was going to return it. I just lost my place. It's sort of considered a. I'm understanding the words, that I'm really not getting the whole gist here.
So even if you do it like on the condition that, so you'll even make it a simple case, right? I want to buy something from you, right? And so you need some sort of object to take and to, you know, to from me for this, right? So, and then Yavi's like, here.
Are we selling that's the Khalifin, or are we just saying that's a sort of a
as a
placeholder?
Yeah.
Okay.
So as Khalifin, so in other words, I'm buying a tract of land from you. So I need to give you some object. Well, I don't have an object. So Yavni, who is our, you know, our Mesader Mechira here to some extent. Yeah, Yavni's like, here, Asher, here, take this. Is that a pack of gum?
Paper clips.
Oh, paper clips. Paper clips.
Wow, this is a really cheap ass piece of land I'm giving you.
Yeah, you know.
Oh, it gets cheaper though.
Yeah, exactly. A paper clip.
Because I'll give it to you temporarily, but you have to give me back this paper clip once the exchange is done. Because I'm not even willing to give up the paper clip.
That counts, right? This is gone to, I don't want to call it symbolic, but it's gone to like the symbolism of some force of like, now you have an object that's been given to you to symbolize the sale to some extent. And and yeah, you're going to give the paper clip back to Yavni. This is, by the way, how kinyan sudar is done. You know, at all these wedding kind of things, it's like, you know, the Rav gives his pen or her pen or their pen, right? Sorry for that. I don't mean to gender that. It is to the Chatan, and the Chatan takes the pen, right? It's like, it's usually not it's not an exchange of any sort. So, okay.
When do I give back the paper clip? Is after you pay me for the land?
Well, they can be anytime. It doesn't matter. I
But
still owe you
just the paper clip just sort of makes it the kosher HaEzer kazot, but you still owe me whatever we've agreed on for the tract of land.
Yeah, in some ways, I'm not 100% sure of this. I'm wondering if we can think of credit cards in the same way, because you don't actually pay any money when you charge a credit card. There is someone backing it, so maybe it's a little bit different, but it is kind of the sense of, like,
that's more of a star. That's more of a star.
Could be. It could also be like that, you swipe the credit card. It is a symbolic, it's not the same thing as a kinyan chalipin, but it's like a gesture that symbolizes the sale. And then at the end of the day, the accounting will be done, but unless I own the food I just bought from the grocery store. So, good. All right. Afal P, go for the Afal P here.
Nose is on my mouth. Hold on, where is it? Let me find it here. Why am I not finding this?
I'll put my
אף על פי שלא תפס המוכר כל הכלי שהגנהו, חלף ממכרו, אלא אחז מקצתו, ואחז המקנה לא מקצתו, כנ"ל לוקח. So even if Yavni has given me that paper clip, and it's on the condition I'm going to give him back the paper clip, the sale is still a kosher sale.
That was the previous one, but now even if I keep a hold on a paper clip while you're like grabbing one end of the paper clip, then it's already been sold.
Yeah.
Okay. Just the fact that I've touched the paper clip means that I've agreed to this as the sale condition.
So good. I'm going to stop you there. Oh, go for it, Sarah.
Oh, is that how Norel Mashiach works?
No, I don't think so.
Right?
Does it? Yeah.
I don't think so.
Yeah, this isn't Mashiach.
Like Norel Mashiach, I think I don't think I can just come in.
No. Yeah, I believe you're correct. So this is Chalipin, which is different. It's like its own. It's like the two of us have to lift that water bottle together, in exchange, and then you now own my property. I don't own any property anymore though, so tough luck. But if I did, I used to be a homeowner, and so it would have gotten me a vote in the United States once upon a time.
But now you've got paper clips, so you're okay.
Exactly. So I want to stop with that one. I just want to go to Halacha Yud Aleph, just like based on the time. I'll take this one, and we'll end with this. I think this is towards the very end. The Rambam writes, he says, Yesh devarim harbeh she'einan tzrichim kinyan ve'ein lekinyan behen tam. כגון המשחרר את עבדו והמגרש את אשתו, או עושה שליח, או מוסר מודעה, או מבטל מודעה, או המוכר לחברו חוב, I gotta get rid of some of these things here, או פיקדון שיש לו בידו, וכל כיוצא בדברים אלו. All right, he says there are lots of things that they don't need a kinyan, and there's no reason for them. Of course, what he's saying is people do this. Nonetheless, all these actions that you do that don't need a kinyan, but people do a kinyan for them, right? We can go into what these details are, but it's not so crazy. But I just want to go into Yud Gimel, and then we'll take away. Nagu rov makamot le'akanot lemiksat elu davrim okay sebe elu, right? But nonetheless, lots of places they do this, right? This is they use these things to make kinyan. Ve'omrim kaninu miploni shasa ploni shaliach o shemachal ploni chov sheyesh lo etzlo o shmatal moda'a shemasar al getzeh v'chayeseh ba'elu afal pi she'eino sarich. Even though you don't need these things, we do this all the time. So, all right, Sarah, go for it, and then we'll end this session. Yeah.
It just seems like there's a good havamina for Meshacharet Avdo and Megaresh Ishto, because you can, like, the language of like Konet Atzma is in the Mishnah.
Just a good point. I mean, there is a shtar for it, right? This is like we do this thing where like you have a shtar and then we take the shtar upon yourself by doing some sort of kinyan.
I see.
So, yeah, it's like, well, you wrote the shtar, right? You asked, or in this case, you probably asked the scribe to write it lishma, but you asked him to write it or her to write it, So.
Right. Although I guess what I'm saying is like the fact that we call getting freed or getting divorced as like kinyan latzmo or something, or atzmo.
Yeah.
That seems like makes it a kinyan. I don't know. Like, I get that that's not the same thing he's talking about, but like the language is similar. So
I know, I think you're right. And I think there is a sense of like, we just do it for everything that affects status. And even though the Rambam seems to degrade it a little bit here, it makes sense,
Yeah,
it does.
totally.
It does. So great. with that, hopefully that was somewhat helpful with some of these concepts here. And I will end with that. Have a good Shabbos to everybody. And
Thanks very much. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom. I'll see everyone on Monday. So
okay, be well. Shabbat shalom,
be well.
everyone.